FM. News FM.
Maghanda na ng mahiwagang apple juice at makitambay sa mga Yotits dahil walang bawal pag-usapan sa masarap na kwentuhan. Wag Po! Mga Yotits, narito na ang mga balitang pag-uusapan natin. Kahit sumigaw pa sila ng Wag Po! Omicron variant. Susi nga ba para matapos na ang pandemya? Alamin natin kasama si Father Nic Austriaco. Kanya-kanyang COVID testing sa mga bahay. Isinusulong sa dami na nagkakasakit. Mga nambabas dati kay Robin, magsilabas kayo! Pag-aalaga ng hayop kaysa bata. Selfish daw. Ayon kay Lolo Kiko. Mga Yotits, take it away!
Ani, eto si Manny, ano to eh. Alam ko dito, katukolik ko sarado to. Pero, pet owner din. Manny, ano masasabi mo doon? Sa pangaral ng Santo Papa.
Alam mo, Patrick, talaga namang kalunos-lunos ang kalagayan ng mga kabataan. Lalo-lalo na mataas ang abortion, no? Sa ibang bansa. No? Sa atin, hindi naman natin problema yan, pero meron din. No?
Okay,
Kaya ang sabi ni...
Marami pa rin bata dito. Marami
pa rin bata. No? Kaya ang sabi ni Santo Papa, imbis na mag-alaga kayo ng aso o pusa o anumang hayop, bata na lang alagaan nyo. Kasi marami na pabayaan, diba? Marami nasa orphanage eh.
Yun naman pala. So, bali, Manny, hindi tayo pinatatamaan ng Santo Papa niya.
Ay, hindi tayo.
Hindi tayo Pilipino. Kasi iba naman yung sistema natin dito eh, di ba? Tayo, sabay lahat. Anak at saka tuta. Di ba?
Tsaka tsaka maraming Pilipino may mga alaga ring aso tsaka pusa.
Oo.
May alaga pang asawa.
At saka bata. Tsaka sabayan, pati bata.
Oo.
Hindi nila pinagpapalit yung mga
ang nakakaawa lang yung mga pinabayaan bata. Yan.
Yun, oo.
Yung nasa kali pakalat-kalat.
Bakit kaya bakit kaya nasabi ng Santo Papa yan?
Kasi concern lang siya sa kalagayan ng mga milyong-milyong batang nasa kalye na walang magulang, hindi naalagaan. Dapat ito yung mga inaampon ng mga hindi magkaanak, imbis na aso o pusa ang lang alagaan, amponin na lang, bigyan ng bahay, no? Pakainin yung mga batang ulila. Yan.
Ayun. Sumabay pa sa Santo Papa ngayon dito. Siguro, ano tingin mo, Manny, mas pinag-uusapan ngayon, itong pangaral na Santo Papa tungkol sa mga mahihilig mag-alaga ng pets o yung 17,000 plus cases na bago ngayong araw?
Palagay ko yung Omicron pa rin eh. kasi yung kalusugan mismo ng tao ang ang involved, di ba?
Ayun. Bago tayo magpatuloy, mga Yotits, magpakilala muna tayo. Ako po ang inyong abang lingkod habang wala at hinintay natin ba natin makakasamaan. I think si Joby present na dito pero siguro busy pa sa kabilang tungkulin niya. Dahil ito si Joby, executive producer din po ito ng The Chiefs. Pero sa aking tabi, mawala na lahat. Huwag lang mawawala ang ating nag-iisang Pulitzer Prize winner na Filipino journalist
Yun.
na si Manny Mogato.
Ayan.
Yan. Oo. Wala pang
Good evening mga Wag Powers.
yun. Ayun, may tutugan na pala sa Zoom.
Yan. Magandang gabi kay Aling Minerva at pagaling po kayo.
Yan ang dapat dinawawala. Mari, napansin ko lang sa ID mo sa Zoom, ano? Manuel Pastelero Mogato. Alam mo,
Ayan,
nilinaw mo yung Mogato, hindi yan pangalang Hapon, ano? Pero itong
Hindi,
itong mga pastelero, taga saan to?
Sa ano yan? Sa Iloilo.
Ayan, mga mas tisoy na to si Manny, no? Yung pangalan.
Ano yan? Iloilo City.
Ayan, nako. Yan mga... Yan, dyan ata na minanan ni Manny ang kanyang balbas. Kaya balbasin si Manny.
Ayan, oo.
Sa kanyang mga ninunong Ilonggong mistiso. Maraming mga mistiso dyan sa Ilonggo. Mga Kastilaloy, di ba? Kaya maraming asyenda dyan, di ba, Manny?
Ayan, yung mga yaman yan. Oo. Si Lopez dyan galing.
Ayun, oh. Pero hindi siya tisoy, Manny.
Hindi.
Talo mo siya. Oo. Chinoy ang mga Lopez.
Oo.
Yan, okay. Mga Yotits, 17,000 cases today. Mukhang parang naging araw-araw tumataas yan. Kung nagugulat pa tayo, dapat tayo magulat. Pero Manny, kung teksto lang sa numero na nire-report natin, ito, 17,220 cases. Yan.
Ayan. Alam mo, Patrick, nung Pasko, bababa na ang kaso natin, 200, 300, no? Isang linggo lang bilang sipa. Bilang libo agad.
Yeah. Pero kailangan din natin bantayan mga Yotits, ang pinaka-importante kasi karamihan ng mga 17,000 new cases ito, ang balita na nakikita natin, karamihan pa rin mild. Tsaka hindi nagpapakospital.
Mild.
So ang kailangan talagang tinitingnan naman dito sa COVID cases is yung mga namamatay.
Ayan, o.
Nasaan na ba tayo sa number of deaths? I think nasa ilan na ba tayo?
80 plus ata eh.
Oo, yan.
80 plus ang mamatay. Ngayong araw, ngayong araw.
Mm-hmm. So,
pero yung number of deaths na yan, hindi yan reflecting only one day. Kasi iba dyan, delayed ng 3 araw o 1 linggo.
So, naipon. Pero, ang reporting naman natin is daily. So, if you will even out everything, balance out everything, medyo yan na yun, di ba? Yan na yun.
Yun pa rin.
Nag-iiba-iba rin naman ang number of deaths. Nag-iiba-iba naman yung number of deaths. Pero daily pa rin naman reporting, kahit yung mga ibang numbers nito, yung mga ibang deaths, consolidated mula sa mga iba't ibang araw. Pero sa suma total niyan, yun pa rin siya. Di ba?
Yeah.
Yung pa rin siya.
Sinasabi ng OCTA 7,000 by January 7. Bukas pa yan 17,000 na tayo ngayon.
Oo. Medyo advance. Advance tayo.
Advance. Oo, na-blitz na. Blitz.
Pero yung bisita natin, mga Yotits, pwede ba natin sabihin good news? May good news Iba ang kanyang pananaw dito sa pagtaas sa mga kaso nito at sa Omicron. Mamaya-maya lang makakasama po natin. Suki na natin.
Ayun.
Hello, Tito Jovi. Sorry.
Hi.
Sorry at hindi kita na-introduce.
Hindi, kakapag labas pasok ako. Pero alam ko na naghahanda tayo for our guest habang wala pa siya. I-clarify natin, ang dami nagpapadala ng tanong sa atin Tito Patrick and Tito Manny. Kasi kumakalat yung clip talaga ng babae na nagsasabi ng Marshall. So kailangan natin sabihin sa publiko, Tito Manny, kung ano yung nakuha mong balita tungkol sa.
Fake news daw po yan, sabi ni Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana. Ngayong gabi, kaninang hapon, nag-meeting yung IATF kasama si Pangulong Duterte.
Ongoing, yes.
Ongoing. At sinasabi niya na hindi nila pinag-uusapan yan. Ang pinag-uusapan lang, baka i-step up yung alert level sa Metro Manila. Pero yung sinasabing total lockdown buong bansa,
hindi na. Wala na mangyayari total lockdown. Kahit saan, I think, maghihigpit, pero yung the era of total lockdown medyo
done. It's over.
Well, sana unless magkaroon tayo ng zombie apocalypse ngayon, iba naman. Pero I think most governments have learned how to respond to handle COVID. So hindi na sila masyado gulat o in the dark pag-handle nitong COVID response.
Ito, Patrick. Kaya marami
Yes.
niniwala doon sa voice clip na yon. Pag pinakinggan mo kasi, kaya pinagpapasapasahan sa Viber para siyang concerned na nanay or kapatid na babae kung magsalita na parang, uy, handaan nyo na yung mga
Kayo.
for 30 days, mga ganyan. Kaya, so, ang dami po nagpapasapasa nung voice clip na yun. Pero denied.
Ito lang masasabi ko, no? Tito Joey, Tito Manny, matagal na tayo nagko-cover ng Pilipinas, ng mga balita. Ito lang masasabi ko, alam mo, palapit na ang eleksyon, pag kumakalat yung mga balita na no election at saka martial law.
Yan.
Dalawa yan. Dalawang senaryo gustong pag-usapan at ikalat ang mga chismoso. No elections at saka martial law. Ito. Yan, no election. Martial law naman.
Pero, Tito Joby, concern lang ako sa voice clip na yan. Kasi, baka dulot ng panic buying yan sa mga grocery.
Okay.
Maniwala ang tao at
Exactly.
ubus ang dilata.
Yeah.
Oo.
In fairness, yung mga newscast
Early in the
natin-
pandemic, early in the pandemic, maraming kumalat din ng mga peking fake news din about lockdown, magsasarado, mga alam naman natin palaging hindi natutuloy.
Yes.
So, hindi natin saan galing pero ayun, siguro maging sensible na common sense na lang gamitin din natin, no?
Yeah.
Imbis na makinig sa mga alarming na balita, minsan gumamit na rin tayo ng common sense.
Yes, common sense. And, in all fairness, binalita po ng lahat ng mga TV station yan na saying na hindi po talaga totoo. No? Kayo na sa OBP, sa STL natin, pati sa Frontline Pilipinas, sinabi po yan. So, sana itigil na yung pagpapass around kasi pinapasa pa So, wag na ipasa kasi baka makakos po ng undue na magpapanik buying ang mga tao. Yeah.
Wala na nga biojet.
Yung voice clip napaka-exe, pero napaka-powerful yan kung makinig kayo, kung paliniwalaan nyo.
Yeah.
Teka, kung concerned nanay ang nagsasalita, bakit siya kapani-paniwala? Di ba? Iba kasi, Tito Joby, kung isang opisyal ang nagsasalita, pero kung concerned nanay, hindi mo ba iisipin na parang reliable source ba siya? Member ba siya ng gobyerno o ano? Wala bang ganong out?
Walang identity. Basta
Walang identity.
Niya nga.
Pero kasi para talaga siyang hindi siya yung mukhang parang nananakot, yung parang more of concerned siya.
Magaling na acting.
Magaling yung
Good
acting.
Oo,
Good
magaling.
acting siguro. Oo. Parang lang, parang budol-budol lang.
Yeah.
Pero ang galing ng gumawa nun.
Galing gumawa. Kasi ang ikli lang talaga pangpasa. Alam mo yun, Tito Patrick, yung hindi ganun kabigat yung file. So lahat ng chat group pwede mo ipasa basta-basta.
No? Yan ang virus na mahirap supuin.
Totoo.
Oo. Yung virus ng chismis. Nasi-share talaga, kumakalat, mabilis.
Yeah.
Deadly din niya kasi pag kami naniniwala, baka atakin sa puso, mamatay.
Yun na nga.
Ayun, oo. At saka yung mga panic niya, yan ang dahilan kung bakit kunyari ngayon, hindi rin naman totoo na nagkakaubusan ng biogesic, Pero pag nakikita mo yung balita na nagkakaubusan ng biogesic, talagang mapapatakbo yung mga ilang kababayan natin sa putika. Diba? Sa drugstore.
Okay, so ano pa ba? Habang hinihintay natin si Father Nic, ano nga ba? Good news ba yon, Tito Patrick?
Which one? Well, yung kay Father Nic,
Oo.
ayaw lang natin maging kampante mga kababayan natin. Pero si Father Nic po, hindi po siya membro ng Department of Health, siya po tumutulong lamang, membro siya ng OCTA.
Yeah. Actually, ang Vinoise out niya is a study from South Africa. So, doon yun, it's not, hindi po sa global, kundi South Africa findings.
Kung saan nagsimula ang Omicron.
Correct. Yeah.
Kung saan nagsimula ang Omicron. So, ang balitang lumalabas coming out of South Africa na search ko kanina sa BBC News, as of December 31, ang news article ng BBC says that Omicron parang mabilis kumalat pero mabilis din nawala. Parang gano'n lang.
Kasi na-infect na lahat eh.
Correct.
Parang gano'n. At saka hindi siya kasing deadly, hindi siya pumatay kagaya ng Delta.
Delta. O yun. Oo.
Yeah.
Delta
Joey,
talagang...
ikaw nag-med student ka, di ba? Okay, alam mo naman, journalist yung kinuha natin, pero ikaw nag-med student ka. Di ba? Pero sa mga konting nabasa ko, ang sabi nila with every mutation, okay, a virus is supposed to get weaker.
Tuwing nag-iiba ng form, sabihin ano siya.
Di ba may ganon behavior ng virus. Oo.
At saka kasi nagra-ride yung yung binasa or inecho ni Father Nic from South Africa doon sa fact na bawat isa pa nagkaroon ay merong some kind of immunity na nalalagay sa katawan.
Yung natural immunity.
The natural immunity after ma-infect. So, it happens.
Ang gusto ko malaman kay Father Nic is, si Father Nic na pala isang biomolecular scientist na graduate ng MIT sa Boston, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. At the same time, nagpare, no? Ang gusto ko lang sana malaman from Father Nic may kinalaman kaya yung behavior ng Omicron na ang inaatake daw niya ay upper respiratory area ng tao.
Yung lung passageway.
Nose to throat.
Oo. Hindi daw yung lower. Kaya daw deadly ang
Lower.
Delta kasi sa lower portion siya, mas madali niya napapasok yung lungs ng tao.
Kasi ang lungs, alam niyo na di ba? I mean, basically, it's about our breathing, apparatus.
No, sa upper portion, kaya siguro marami sinisipon ngayon.
Sinisipon inuubo.
Barado ilong.
Nangangatay yung lalamunan. Yun daw yung mga senyalis na yan. Kaya siguro, dahil hindi siya bumababa masyado, pero, nararamdaman talaga yung parang tsaka if it's possible na kaya hindi nagde-develop na dead dahil nasa taas lang siya, at saka maybe binablock niya yung Delta. Maraming mga stupid questions that we need to ask Father Nic Austriaco.
Mga over-the-counter meds natin, kaya yun ang nauubos agad. Not necessarily wala ng stock, pero sabihin may parating sa mga butika pero hindi pa lang dumarating. Dahil yun yung mga pang-maintain yung mga nawawakan sa itong at saka sa throat, na pwedeng
pang-relief.
Relief.
Wala.
Kasi kung sa lungs na yung tama, mga na yan. May reseta na kailangan, doktor na kailangan dyan at saka machine sa ospital.
Respirator.
Yeah.
O nga pala, Joby, kanina earlier, tinanong ko si Tito Manny tungkol dun sa pangaral ng Santo Papa.
Tinitingnan ko nga aso ko
Kasi alam mo niyo naman, kayo lahat dito, mga pet owners. Pati si Bok, ha? Si Bok, may mga tuta din yan. Si Manny, nag-ampun pa yan. Aso at pusa. Ikaw naman, pandemic pet owner ka, Joby. So, anong tingin mo doon sa pahayag ng Santo Papa?
Para tama, narinig ko pa happy yung kay Tito Manny, na baka kasi akala. Parang iba tayo kasi nakikare naman talaga tayo Kahit na hindi tayo nagkakaanak siguro meron tayo extended family, di ba?
Yes, right.
Take care of our brothers, mga younger, mga
pamangkin.
So it's innate, parang wala masyado. I'm sure may mga napapabayaang mga anak, pero kung merong hindi masyadong biniyayaan na kaanak, tutulungan niya ng mga tao from the same family, di ba?
Paralin, di ba? Tama. Good point yan. Extended family, mga pamangkin.
Family, iba tayo dito. Although I'm sure may mga naaapi pa din, pero usually we help out, di ba?
Palagi ko naman nasabi ni Santo Papa yan kasi nagpunta kayo ng mga park, ng mga malls. Ang stroller, ang laman, hindi na bata Tinutulak mo ba? Diba? Alam mo, bata pala.
Actually,
alagang aso na.
I have ako talaga, ilang beses ako binibentahan yan, hindi. Kasi gusto ko maglakad nga yung aso ko
Ba't may isa stroller,
I'm sure kanya-kanyang pag-aalaga yun. Pero ako talaga pag sa mga, parang meron ako na, kaya kuha nila dito kasi gustong mamasal no. Gustong mamasal no, nung alaga.
Baka maramihan yung paa eh. Pag nasa lupa.
May sapatos na. Bumili ako noon. 5 binili ko.
At saka,
Pero
Joby,
anyway.
no? Ito Manny, Joby, yung mga iba, ang mamahal na ng mga doktor yan para may pediatrisya na.
Oo nga.
Minsan nadaan ako sa isang veterinary clinic dyan sa may bandang BGC yung mga kotse pumaparada at bumababang mga aso. Mukhang mamahalin. Ang haba din ng mga waiting time. Talagang ibang klase. Di ba? Parang may baby. Kumbaga, parang may baby yung mga ibang dog owners, pet owners.
Yeah.
Mahal din ang bentahan ngayon eh.
Ang mahal ng bentahan
ng 100,000 ng aso.
Grabe, no? Buti lang ako, biniyayaan na halos bigay lang din talaga dahil kamag-anak nga rin nagbigay. But anyway.
Nandiyan ba siya ngayon, Joby? Pakita mo naman.
Kinulong ko ngayon kasi basa.
Sa balcony na naman?
Hindi, dito sa tabi ko lang. Kaya lang naka-cage. Dahil basa, pinaliguan ko kanina before mag-ST.
Yan, okay.
Anong pinapakain mo, Joby?
Ngayon, nag-iba na siya ng food. Yung dati ko pinapakain, hindi na niya kinakain yon. Yung may age no? Actually yun, medyo maarte sa food. May
parang bata talaga.
Oo, parang may pang-age. So,
may dog food talaga. May category, may pang adult at may pang bata.
Dati yung parang liver spread look, yung parang ganon, parang yung ganong klaseng meat. Pero ngayon chunky na dapat kapag habang tumatanda, yung may mga chunks na hindi na pwedeng. Pero
maalat ang dog food.
Talaga.
Tinikman mo naman
Salamat.
Kasi napansin ko, yung aso namin, pagka kumakain ng dog food, maya umiinom ng tubig.
Okay. Maalat.
Maalat.
Baka nagbumumog lang, Manny.
Ihi ng ihi rin.
Baka nagbumumog lang, Manny. Ayaw matinga.
So yun siya. Kailangan mo pakainin ng gano'n sa mga combination na siya. Tataka lang ako dito, yung ayaw niya pagka sinusubo mo yung gamot sa kanya. Pero pagka inihalo mo sa pagkain, parang hindi niya talaga nalalaman na may kahalo ng gamot yung pagkain. Nakainin pa rin lahat.
Nautakan. Yan.
Nakatingin ka, ha? Akala mo ikaw pinag-uusapan namin. Hindi. Okay. So yun, dito Manny, kamusta mga alaga mo?
Ayos naman.
Yeah.
Pagkagising ko nga sa umaga, minsan nangihingi na
Correct.
Pagkain, oo.
Parang ito rin mahilig na sa human food, Tito Patrick
Talaga?
Pag nakikita ko kumakain ako ng sa atin, talagang nakaantabay doon. Parang pinakain na akin ng dog food
Sa lahat ng pagkain binigay mo o pinatikim mo, Tito Joby, ano ang kanyang paborito?
Gusto niya yung mga tinapay. Ewan ko kung bakit. Yung mga crust ng pizza, gusto niya yan. I don't know why.
Crust lang pinapakain mo, ha?
Natakot ako. Sabi nila, ham daw wag So talaga, di ba usually pag may mga hamon at ibang meat yung pizza, parang hindi ko maibigay. Natakot ako So, crust. Yeah.
Ako naman yung pusa ko rito, maarte na.
Talaga?
Gusto Jollibee. Chicken
Ayun.
Joy.
Oo.
Pagka
paborito, Manny.
ibang chicken, inaamoy-amoy niya, hindi to Chicken Joy Ayaw kainin.
Alam mo, Chicken Joy, ha?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, speaking of cats, ipapaalala ko na yung, alam nyo kasi merong TV5 cats, may page ganyan, may page na ganyan. So, bago po kunin ng pound yung mga ang gaganda pong pusa, dahil alagang-alaga po ng mga taga-5, yung nadyan po sa may parking namin. Kasi kukunin na po yun ng pound, kung merong gustong mag-ampon na, pumunta doon sa page na yon kasi pwede nyo po sila amponin. Maganda yung pagkakaalaga sa mga to, ang gaganda po ng fur at
Matataba.
Matataba.
Ang matataba pati.
Yun. Naalagaan niya
Nga.
mga staff natin sa news, sila yung mga news natin, sila Gian. So okay po, alagang-alaga. Tsaka ni Laila Panganiban. Pangalina.
Bakit nga pala sila nitong pandemic sila dumami, Tito Joby?
Dumami sila sabihin from outside. Nagpapasukan sila doon. Hindi naman sila pinipigilan. Pero dahil medyo marami na, kailangan na po talaga silang ipaampon.
Yun. Medyo territorial pala mga pusa din.
Correct. There's something about our basement yata, Tito Patrick. Nandun sila lahat.
Baka may doon. Ano kaya?
Ano meron sa basement natin, no? So yun.
Yun.
Okay, may mga
Ito naman,
una nung tumatakbo-takbo. At hinahabol-habol nila.
Baka, nako, Diyos ko. Buti na lang hindi ako nagpa-park sa baba.
Yung isang item sa headline natin kanina, no? Yung nag-self-swab si Binoy, si Robin Padilla.
Oh,
Dati.
video ba? May video ba?
Oo.
Okay.
Oo, di ba? Na pinagtawanan siya ng mga netizen. Parang doon rin papunta ang testing ata ngayon.
Everyone's doing it. Pero meron
Diba?
yun ang proper way na itetest na starting this weekend ng Baguio City. In-announce ni Mayor Magalong sa STL kanina na assisted. Kumbaga self pa rin pero assisted. Sa kailan i-explain paano ba in-explain?
Swab test to.
They have to submit pa rin. They have to submit pa rin kung ano yung yung plate nila para monitored pa rin. Hindi katulad ngayon na hindi natin alam kung
Yan.
Si Roy Padilla.
Pinakapaka ni Binoy. Yan, astig. Di ba? Oo. Yan.
Ayan.
Pero sa totoo lang, Tito Joby, yung misis ko nung pumunta ng Canada, DIY din ang pagsaswab. Pero, kailangan yung health worker ka-zoom mo sa computer para binabantay ka niya, tinuturuan ka niya money. Tapos sasabihin niya sir na ilagay mo sa loob ng pagkatapos mo, sige, pasok mo pa. Tapos ilagay sa isang container, tapos pipick upin ng courier. Parang gano'n ang sistema nila. So home DIY din ang pagsuswab doon sa Canada nangyari.
Paano yung swab ni Tito Ed? Dura naman daw, dura.
Alive yung binibili niya. Ako kasi talaga ganito ang binili ko just for my bubble kasi it's not official, di ba? Sinabi na namin to kanina Parang you don't buy it para ito talaga yung gold standard mo. Hindi. It's for your bubble.
It's one layer. It's an initial
layer.
screening.
Pero binili ko Tito Manny and Tito Patrick. Yan, yung katulad kay Binoy. Talagang swab. Hanggang tusok. Yan.
Ako, wala akong tiwala sa sarili ko. Baka iba matusok
Tama.
Kaya kanina, sinubab ako sa bahay.
Sinubab ka?
Yung RT-PCR.
Wala pang resulta, Manny.
Bukas
Sabado ba raw Sabado. Sa dami kasi sa papaswab. Sabi nga nung technician na kumuha sa akin ako sir, ang daming nagpapaswab. Kaya ako napuntahan, mag-alas 6.
Okay.
Ano pala.
So yung bukas,
kasi
hindi ka na magpapa-antigen bukas kasi
hindi na,
RT-PCR ka na, correct.
Yan, okay. Yun.
Okay. So mga tito, kailangan natin mag-break lang sandali dahil may important announcement from the station. Tapos pagbalik natin, yun natin pinag-uusapan about Omicron with Father Nic Austriaco. Magbabalik po ang Wag Po.
Thank you.
Sa ilalim ng quarantine, anong buhay ba ang in-store?
Stuck at home?
With plans o with plans?
Sa work, nakalock-in ka ba?
O from home lang? Paubos na VL mo!
Sa gathering,
Group yourselves into 10 lang.
sa pagkain, pa-deliver?
O from a distance, join in.
O team lutong bahay?
Sa jeepney. Sige, waluhan po yan. Pero, apatan lang ba muna? Bago gawin.
Mga bagay na dapat makasanayan sa new normal. normal, ang buhay na dapat harapin para ma-survive ang pandemya at pagsubok.
Because life goes on!
With face mask and face shield.
Kasama sina Laila Chicadora at Mon Gualvez.
Bagong gawin.
Monday to Friday, alas 4 hanggang alas 6.
Okay, we're back.
Okay.
Patrick.
Yun.
Yes, basa muna tayo.
Yes,
Ang,
sige.
kung titingnan mo ang ating Facebook page, karamihan sa mga reaction tungkol doon sa pagkain ng aso. Ito, isayin natin. Si Ipe de la Paz, huwag niyo po papakainin ng hotdog ang aso. Cannibalism po yun.
Ano ba? Okay.
Yun, si Homer Robles Singson naman, yung dati niyang aso, ayaw kumain ng pasta na gawa sa ketchup ang sauce. Naku, social yung marunong to aso. Siguro may laing Italiano tong aso niya, kaya ayaw ng ketchup sauce na spaghetti. Yan, okay. Nomer Theodore Pareña, ha. Nagmana pala sa'yo ang alaga mo, Tito Manny, na mahilig sa Chicken Joy. Isa pa ang Chicken Joy. Yan, basa pa mga Yotits. Sige.
Si Rolly Chabinea, hindi pa nababasa dito ba? Sabi niya, Sir Jovi, huwag niyo pong papakainin ng ham at similar type of food kasi maalat po at balit lamang ang kanilang organ.
Yan.
Organs, tama naman. Yeah.
Yung yung sardinas, bawal din.
Bakit?
Parang malansaraw eh. Baka galisin. Oo.
Baka
pwede.
Okay.
Oo.
Okay, good evening from Victor Lance Margate. Good evening mga Yotits and mga Wag Poers. Maraming may trangkaso. Ingat-ingat lang. Baka mag-mutate sa Omicron.
O, ayan na. Segue mo na yan. Tito
I
Patrick.
am
Dami,
so
dami.
sorry for being late
Yeah,
today.
segue mo na.
Ayun.
Tito Patrick.
Yun,
That's
Father.
your cue,
Kamusta
Father
kayo?
Nick.
Yan.
My cue. Okay.
Hi, Father Nick.
Hello, good evening again po. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Will it be a happy 2022, Father, or will it be more of 2020? Sabi nga nila, 2020 also. Too.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I am a hopeful man. And let me explain why I am hopeful. So people have said today all over social media that my hope is not based on any evidence. And so I would like to explain why I am hopeful that 2022 will not be like 2020. And why I believe that we are at the beginning of the end of the pandemic. We're not at the end yet, but we're at the beginning. So if you're looking at the pandemic of 1918, 103 years ago, what you will see is that pandemic, the Spanish flu, began to end when the virus became weaker. This is called attenuation po. And what you're seeing with Omicron is for the first time, you have a weaker variant than the other variants. So that's number one. Number two, we have good vaccines po and we have boosters. And those together now in excess supply, we should be able to vaccinate our entire country this year. Number three, we have antivirals now. We have molnupiravir and Paxlovid. And both of these po, molnupiravir is available in the Philippines now. And I understand that the government is in discussions to get Paxlovid. These can be given to people who get COVID-19. We can send it home to them po. They will take pills 5 days. They will not go to the hospital. That's number three. And number four, there is a pan-coronavirus vaccine that is being tested in the United States. This is a vaccine against all the variants of COVID, even the variants we do not know yet. It will protect against all of them. So with those four po, I am hopeful that we are at the beginning of the end. Of course, we do not know how long it will take to get to the end. But with all of those four, I am hopeful that this pandemic will become an endemic soon.
Father,
Father, this Omicron started in sa South Africa po nagsimula to. The news we're getting from South Africa, we're just relying on the news item, is that mabilis dumami, pero mabilis din nawala.
4 weeks. I am hoping that we'll see the same thing here in the Philippines. I'm hoping that especially the current surge in the NCR, which is dramatic, which is rapid. You know, we have 17,000 cases today, and 10,000 of them, I think, are currently in the NCR. So we are nearly double the peak of Delta already, because the Delta peak was around 5,000, 6,000 in September. So I'm hoping that it will go up very quickly, and it will run out of people to infect, and it will begin to crash, just like it did in South Africa. Why is that? Because we have high vaccination rate in the NCR, number one. Number two, many of our kababayans got sick during the Delta variant. If you remember, the positivity rate was 30%, which meant that we could only sample a few of the people who got sick. So we had many people who also got sick. So those two together suggest that there is, protection, and that as this Omicron goes up, it will eventually run out of people to infect in the NCR, and we will begin to see a decrease po. This is the prayer we will see in the next couple of weeks.
In effect, Father, the faster it spreads, the better. Pangit pakinggan, but parang ganon.
I mean, yes. I mean, the danger, of course, it will overwhelm our hospitals. Our hospitals will not be able to keep up. But in South Africa, only 5% of their 135,000 COVID cases was admitted to the hospitals. About 6,000 out of the 135,000. Now, in the Philippines, it's not clear, because it looks like right now a lot of mild cases are going to the hospitals. My anecdotal stories is that people are going to the hospital even though they're not severe or critical. They are scared. They don't want to stay at home. And we are saying that if you have mild, then you should stay at home, because when you're at home, you can get better there, and you can free up the beds for those who have severe and critical disease.
Father, yung mortality rate ng Omicron, mataas po ba?
So what happened is, I believe out of 135,000, there was something like 250 deaths in South Africa for the Omicron. It's much lower than Delta. I believe it is 1/5 mortality rate for Delta in South Africa. So you see, again, it's a blessing in disguise. There will be a lot of suffering po, because a lot of people will still get sick, and unfortunately some people will die. But the Omicron variant will replace the Delta variant. The Delta variant is much more severe. So it's a hidden blessing that a milder virus will replace the more lethal one.
Pero Father, yung Omicron has about 60 mutations. Pagka may mutation ba, baka mas marami lumabas pang variant?
Yeah, but you see those, it required a special person. So we think that virus mutated in South Africa because there are people there, many of whom who have AIDS, so they're immunocompromised. So you need an immunocompromised patient or someone who is unable to clear the virus to develop this kind of mutant.
So, Father, going back to 1918, Noong 1918 ba yung Spanish flu, may mga variants din?
Oh yes, so in 1918, there was a variant in the spring and the summer of that year. And they noticed that people who got sick in the early variant, which was a mild variant, were protected against the variant that appeared that winter. So you see, this is why there is a natural vaccine. The earlier variant of the flu of 1918 protected people against the worst variant later, which is why I was thinking, when I was thinking about Omicron, I was actually thinking of that historical example where a milder form will protect you against a more severe form. Having said that po, very important everyone must get vaccinated and boosted because this one still can kill.
Mhm.
Father, where does the WHO stand in all this?
On all what po?
On this view that this could be the beginning of the end.
So you have
on the view that this variant may replace the deadly Delta, and we're headed towards a natural herd immunity, so to speak.
So everyone agrees that Omicron will replace Delta po. The question people want to know is if something else will replace Omicron. See, that is the debate po. It's not the debate about whether or not Omicron will replace Delta. In the United States, it pretty much has replaced it already. And it's replacing throughout the world. Within a couple of months, it will be the dominant variant in the entire planet. So that is clear. And we are pretty much agreed now. I think most scientists, it is milder. Now, we don't say it is mild. We say it is milder than the Delta because it can still kill, right? And so it is a blessing in disguise. This is what I'm saying. When people say, how can you say it's a blessing when many people would suffer? And I would say it's a blessing in disguise because if you want to choose, do you want a Delta surge or you want an Omicron surge? I will always choose the Omicron surge because the Omicron surge is milder. So fewer people will die, fewer people will be in the hospital. So you want to prefer this one. So in a sense, this is why if the Omicron replaces the Delta in our country, it will be a blessing in disguise at the other side of this wave because the more deadly form has been replaced by the milder form.
Pero Father, tingin ko may problema pa rin because in Africa, very low ang vaccination rate. So baka dyan lumabas yung mga kung ano-anong variant, di ba?
Well, this is why, so remember, in order for a new variant to cause a problem in the Philippines, it must not only be stronger, it has to be stronger than Omicron. And Omicron is already so strong. I mean, that's why you see the numbers are spreading so much, right? And that is why I am hopeful with this pan-coronavirus vaccine that is being developed at the Walter Reed Hospital that we will be able to deal with all variants in the future as well.
Kasama po din sa development ng vaccine, Father, can you update us on what happened dun sa ginagawa ng vaccine?
So Ed is not here today, but because he usually asks me that question. We are continuing to work on our vaccine po. Over the last month and a half, I had to deal with the bureaucracy and the red tape of the Philippines, which I am not used to po. There was so much paperwork. So instead of shipping it here, I actually brought it with me in my maleta. It was much easier for me to bring an ice pack with the biological materials in them, with all of the papers, and I brought them in. And I sent them to UST while I was in hotel quarantine. And so hopefully next week po, when we return to the university, we will be able to continue our work with these materials that they have been waiting for nearly 2 months.
Yung mga daga po, Father, galing Taiwan, dumating na.
No, we got them from Cavite.
Okay.
We got them from Cavite. So they have already been sacrificed. They've all been killed now, and all of their blood is in the refrigerator waiting for our experiments. And we are going to...
It's a noble sacrifice, Father.
It was a noble sacrifice for a
Yes.
vaccine for us.
Yeah.
And we are making an Omicron
Bayani.
vaccine now.
Bayani yung mga dagang Cavite na yan. Mga bayani yan. Iba talaga pa sa Cavite talaga palaban, Father. Alam mo naman, dyan nagsimula yung
Revolution.
So, maski mga nagkado
kumalat.
Yeah.
doon ay matatapang din. Pero did I hear you right, Father Nic, na Omicron vaccine? Ay, hindi pala
So my student, so we are developing an Omicron specific vaccine now.
Okay.
because the boosters that we're getting are the original. So we want an Omicron specific one, and we are not the only ones developing that. There are others who are developing an Omicron specific vaccine as well.
Okay.
Okay. Father, given this development from Delta to Omicron, does this mean, Father, that countries that were able to stave off or hold back the spread of Delta successfully, does that mean that they will naturally have to go through the Delta phase before they can reach the same level of
No, because
immunity?
they could have the Omicron first, right? So for example, the Philippines never experienced the Gamma variant. So the Gamma variant spread in South America. We did not get it. So depending upon different variants and which one arrive, some are able to be strong, are able to enter sooner than later. So it really depends. I mean, the challenge now po is that Hong Kong has a zero COVID policy, which is why they banned flights from many, many countries, because they do not want any COVID. What these countries are discovering is that with Omicron, it's very hard to control transmission po. Because once it enters your country, and the country has never experienced a variant before, it is like wildfire. It spreads throughout, which is why Hong Kong is very tight. You have 21 days hotel quarantine.
And the Philippines was included in the ban.
And Australia, United States, France, United Kingdom, because they banned everybody who was going through a Omicron surge. Now, our hope again po is that within a month, at least the surge in the NCR, we do not know how it will develop across the rest of the country. If you look at the other regions, they really are not experiencing a surge yet. So it's
theoretically, Father.
NCR plus. Ano po?
Theoretically, Father, you mentioned the 1918 Spanish influenza.
Yeah.
Right? That was a pandemic that also killed a lot.
50 million.
Wala akong vaccine doon.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, theoretically, is it necessary just to let the virus go through the population for it to...
They had no vaccine, which is why millions died po.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we have vaccines to prevent those millions from dying.
Okay.
And they had I've seen numbers of 50 to 100 million people died in that pandemic. It's hard to know because they did not have the kind of testing capacity and recording capacity in many developing countries. But those were incredibly high numbers. Thank God we don't have those numbers. The excess death is about 18 million for COVID, and probably it will get to about 20 million. But hopefully it will not get 50 million like it reached for the 1918 influenza.
Okay. How does this pandemic compare, Father, with previous pandemics? I think there was another one in the 50s, in the 1950s. The Asian flu.
But there have been also, SARS and MERS were considered, in a sense, pandemic because they infected many countries. But we rarely have this kind of global event, right, of such a magnitude that for 22 months now, 23 months soon, we have not been able to live the normal lives that we want back. So it's really important, it's really important to see how it will take time for us to recover. But this is why I'm still hopeful po that we are at the beginning of the end. I know people will disagree, but maybe it's because I believe in God and I believe in grace as well, and I believe in science. And when I hear about that pan-coronavirus vaccine development, I'm very hopeful.
So, Father, you're hopeful na by May when we will have an election, practically wala na si Omicron.
We cannot promise anything from the election other than hopefully we will get a new president.
Yeah.
Father, One last thing. Florona. Media has coined a new term, Florona.
Yes. That's
Okay,
the
it's
whole
not a
that's the
variant.
combo. Yeah, that's the combo of the flu and the COVID, right? Because there's a case with someone who has both. And I point out, like, flu and COVID is like dogs and cats. They don't mix together to make half dogs and half cats. You know, they don't do funny things at night. So if you get flu and COVID, the flu will make flu, the COVID will make COVID. We don't really, these are two separate, very different viruses.
Ayun, okay. That
So
happened
bakit
to
naging
just
combination,
infect you at the same time.
It infects you,
Parang
like, you
ganun,
know,
Father.
some people have, you know, cancer and COVID. So here you have
Yeah.
flu and COVID. It's just
COVID, right.
two separate things happening together.
Yun, okay. Father, earlier we opened the show with this latest word from the Vatican, from Pope Francis.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with this, like, ano ba tawag dito, Father? Teachings
Yeah,
on pet
this was
owners.
on the fact. Well, you see, po, you have to understand. In the United States, I was walking down New York a couple of months ago, and I was watching this woman pushing down a baby carriage, po. And I looked inside, and there was a dog, and the dog was dressed up completely. It had clothes. It had a
Bonnet.
diaper, you know. And I think what the Pope is saying is that we have a natural desire for children, and it is a good thing to have children. And if we try to replace it, po, as some people in the United States, I do not know here, it's not that they just have pets, but they treat the pets as their children. Then that, I think what the Pope is saying, we have to stop and ask them, why are you doing this? Children are
Yeah,
gifts.
Joby, buti lang yung aso mo.
Hindi
Paminsan-minsan talaga patulugin mo sa labas ng balkonahe.
Yes.
Para paalala sa kanya na pet siya. Hindi siya anak.
Tama.
Hindi siya tao.
Yeah.
Oo.
Yeah.
With that, magpapasalamat na tayo kay Father Nic kasi
Thank you
kailangan
po.
niya tumawid
I
eh.
hope
Kailangan
Thank
niya
you, Father.
ng programa. So, thank
God
you,
bless
Father
you
Nic.
po.
Father.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Father. Yan.
So, actually, dapat makinig yung mga neighbor ko sa kabilang building na nagreklamo lagi pa nakikita yung aso ko na nasa balkonahe.
Baka maingay,
Yung
Joby.
mga
Joby,
pakialamera ko,
sabihin
dapat
mo.
makinig sila.
Dapat sumusunod ka lang sa utos ng Santo Papa.
Exactly.
Ganun, oo. Nagiging mabuting Katoliko ka.
Correct.
Diba? A pet is a pet. Diba?
Yep.
Joby, baka naman panentahol niyan sa gabi.
Hindi. Nako. Ito na yata pinakatahimik na aso.
Oo nga, tahimik siya, Joby, sa ilalim. Ano kaya ginagawa niya, Joby?
Ngayon, hawak na yung kainan niya. Pero ang oras ng kain niya, 9 o'clock pa. So, okay lang yan.
Ayun.
Yung aso ni Panginoon, di ba? Laki-laki pero parang ang tahimik din.
Ang tahimik din nun.
Ang tahimik, di ko narinig tumahol eh.
Yeah. Nag-react ito, hindi sa tao eh. Nag-react ito pag kumakahol yung mga nasa neighbors ko na ibang aso. So siguro naririnig niya kaya nag-react na lang siya. Anyway.
Nung bagong taon, tahimik naman siya.
Nung bagong taon, dinala ko Santa Mesa. Nakilaro doon sa mga aso namin doon. Marami rin kasi doon eh. Yun.
Kasi takot
May
sa
basa-
patok. Aso eh.
Usually. So nasa kwarto sila.
Basa lang tayo, no? Bago ilang minuto pa tayo, basa lang tayo ng iba pang mga comments sa Facebook. From Joseph Mercado, please ask Father Nic, as UST is a royal and pontifical university, for his reaction to the soundbite from the Pope, pets and children. I think yun, sinagot na. Oo. Kumbaga, Joseph, hindi po tayo mga Pilipino pinapatama kasi hindi naman tayo masyadong OA sa ating mga pets. Pets pa rin sila in the West. Si Owen Sayaman, asa na yung COVID beer na pinag-aaralan ni Father? Nandito na, dala-dala niya. Nasa cooler na, Owen.
Yeah.
Okay, itutuloy niya yung kanyang pag-develop ng COVID beer. Yan.
Okay.
Si Balbino Legaspi, magandang gabi po. Ako ay kumakatok sa inyong mga puso na sana matulungan niyo po ako. Okay, Balbino. Yes.
Okay. Tito Patrick, kailangan natin
Yes.
magpapate na portion. Kaya lang, baka sobrang lead, hindi namin mabasa ni Tito Manny, ha? O, subukan natin. Okay.
Naku, late nga.
Teka lang.
Ay, Manny.
Ilalagay ko sa view,
Tito
ha?
Joby ata una. Tito Joby, ikaw
Full
una.
screen ko lang. Ay, bakit ayaw niya mag-full screen? View is speaker. Hindi, kung sino speaker, yun ang lalabas eh. Lalong lumiliit eh. Okay, wait lang ha. Gallery. Hindi ba pwede yung nandito sa, yung nandito ako sa tabi niya, Mr.
Si Chester ba nandiyan? Si Chester?
Tigasan ka. Okay. Dexter Villanueva, good evening po mga Yotits. Greetings from Cainta, Rizal. Yan.
Hello, Dexter.
Ayan.
Okay, batiin ng masarap. Via 1PH Facebook, Amir Sinsuat. Good evening mga Yotits. Nakakamiss kapag magkakasama kayo sa studio. Si Amir Sinsuat mula sa Cotabato City. Yes.
Medyo kailangan natin mag-ingat muna ngayon kaya hiwa-hiwalay muna kami ha mga mga kapatid.
Break muna ngayon, Amir.
Ayan.
Go, Tito.
Tito Manny, ikaw na to.
Gina G.
Mm.
Gina G. Yan, no? Gina G.
James. Ayan. Yun. Mm.
James Vitalio. Bill back kami. Hehehe. Yan.
O, next. Easy ka lang. From Ipe de la Pasto. Hi, Ipe. Nagkakaubusan na rin po ng common sense. Sana mag-panic buying learning din sila. Oo nga.
Yan.
Kaalaman ng Correct. Tito Manny, ikaw ulit. Yan,
Ano ang mas mabisa? Ayan. Via 1PH Facebook. Si Homer Robles Singson. Yung bakuna nyo, make sure galing lang sa DOH, galing sa jowa nyo. Uy!
Yan,
Nako. Oo.
Nako, delikado yan. Oo.
Oo.
Anyway, yung bakuna ha. Nako, boosters.
Oo.
Okay.
Oo.
Iba turok nun.
Oo.
Okay, mga tito, anong oras na ba?
Ano yan? Nakakatakot yung hiringgilya na yun, Manny.
Oo.
Di ba?
2 minutes na lang. So binabati natin sila Miro Abala, Renato Tranquilino,
Eleanor.
Susan Morales at Malu Prehas. Yan.
Tito Jovi, tanong mula kay Milan Agustin. Tito Jovi, ano ang breed ng dog mo?
Poodle siya, poodle.
Ayun. May poodle po. Itim, ano? Itim. Tito Jovi.
Near itim pero ano siya talaga. Actually, dark chocolate. Yeah.
Okay, kay Tita Lilo, thank you mga tito concerning this virus. Nakakatakot talaga. Thank you kay Father na bisita nyo. Yes, medyo parang kailangan din naman natin pakalmahin ng konti mga tao. Dahil kung titingnan mo lang purely yung numero, talagang nakakatakot dahil tumatalon. Diba? Pero konteksto lang po sa numero na yun, at ang konteksto po ay parang hindi pa naman masyado napupuno yung mga ospital. At sabi nga ni Father, based sa anecdotal, karamihan ng mga nagpapa-hospital ay mga mild cases na naniniguro na. Kumbaga, gusto na ng kwarto bago magkaubusan. Ganun.
Yeah.
Sige. So, magpapasalamat po muna tayo sa lahat ng nanood ngayong gabi at mga nagkomento. Sorry, namin mababati lahat. Pero sa ngayon, thank you muna, Tito Patrick, Tito Manny. Kita-kita tayo bukas. Dito
Yes.
The Lord naman tomorrow. Okay? So, magandang gabi mga Wag Poers. Babalik po ang Wag Po. Bukas na po yan. Good night, mga kapatid.
Good night.
Thank you.